How did Apple create a brand in less than 50 years? Apple created a brand by telling you stories. How did they tell you the stories? Through the advertisements. So, if you want to build a brand, do you need to do advertisements? No, not necessary, but you can tell your stories. And how do you start telling your stories? You first need to understand your product. I'll tell you a small story about Apple. When Apple was running a narrative for the graphic user interface, all the narrative was based on that. They were trying to sell their product to people who wanted high-end graphics because they had one of the best graphic user interface. But they were struggling with numbers because that was a very niche market. And when they went through their data, they realized that there was one particular company which was buying a lot of their product and they were not into graphic user interface. So what they did was they called up the customer, they went and they spoke to the customer. They realized that this company was buying their product because their engines were faster. The engines were able to do a lot of data analytics. And then Apple did something different. They changed their narrative and they started speaking about the speed. This changed the trajectory of the customer and they started doing good numbers. So understanding your product and what kind of a niche it can go to or what kind of niche would need your product is very important so that you can build your narrative to address that market. You need to know which market you need to address and you can run different narratives for different markets. So you don't need advertisement, all that you need is a narrative. Second is understanding your customer. Like Apple did the mistake of only looking at graphic user interface customers. They didn't look at other customers. So what is your target customers? Understand your target customers. Who are they? What do they want? What is the problems they face? What are their needs? What are their desires? Once you understand that, then you can target your narratives to these customers and you can pitch your products there. So you don't need advertisement over there. All that you need is a good narrative. You need a good business story to tell them so that they would be interested in your product. And yes, one more thing, you should understand whether they will be willing to pay for that. You may work on a customer who is not willing to pay for that problems. Like Apple knew who their customers were. They only wanted to target those niche customers who were ready to pay that much money and not the normal customers. So they built a niche for themselves in that segment. Structure your stories properly. How should your structure be? It should be first a problem, highlight the problem, make it big, then introduce your product as a solution, and finally, tell them about the emotions that it will give for the customer. You don't have to talk about features, you don't have to talk about what are the specifications. All that you need to talk about is what is that emotions that your product gives to the customer. So if your narrative is based on that emotions, it can sell easily. You need to also talk about your about yourself, about your life, about how did you start selling the product, how did you start making the product, what was the way that your journey was from the creation of your company to selling of the products and till how did you reach there. These stories evoke a lot of emotions and these emotions become relatable to the customers and then they engage with you. This will help you to engage with the customer so that your product start getting the eyeballs that it needs so that it can be converted into sales. You can also start talking about your people, your employees, some success stories about them, some good things that you have done for a particular client. These are good stories which will help you to get the customer and to build your brand. Emotions are important. Your story should have emotions. It should have joy, happiness. They should have a little bit of sorrow. Yes, that will also pull. It should have some empathy. If your stories have all these things, then it can actually pull the customer this. And finally, authenticity. Whatever you say should be authentic. There's no thing that it's not be something that you're pulling out of the air. Ensure that you have authentic stories, you have testimonials of your customers, you have some videos of your customers talking about your product and the kind of solutions it did for them. All this will help you to build a brand. So if you want to build a brand in a short period of time, start telling stories because facts tells but stories sell. I hope you like this video, and if you like this video, please hit the like button and also comment below. And if you want to need more of my videos, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you.